Good morning. Thanks a lot, first of all, for inviting the Polish MFA to this conference. I am going to tell you why Poland engages volunteers in development assistance and why we decided to do that. The Polish MFA is responsible for Polish Development Assistance Program. It is also responsible for humanitarian assistance, but we are not really involved much in bilateral development assistance, and we mostly fund other institutions who are much more specialized than ourselves. A few years ago, Poland decided to establish a special volunteering scheme, and it's maybe not a big-scale program because it has been in operation only for a couple of years, and so far we have sent 108 volunteers to 33 countries, and it didn't cost much, I would say. It's 5 million Polish zloty, which means at the moment, a little bit more than 1 million euro. And our volunteers worked in virtually all continents of the world. And what they do is they work in various sectors, and among others, they carry out sports, music, and IT workshops for children and youth. A lot of them work with street children. They train hospital employees in preventing HIV/AIDS, rehabilitation, and first aid. They carry out, for example, gender workshops aiming to enhance women's professional activity. It's just a couple of examples. Here on the picture you can see a girl who is working with youth. And why we decided to do this? Poland has been providing bilateral development assistance mainly from NGOs, some academic institutions. It has also worked, and it has been working with the governments, with local authorities. But we saw that there is a big potential and a huge engagement of Polish civil society organizations. Some of them have missionary relations. That means that they work with Polish missionaries or other missionaries abroad, directly with the people. And we set up a special scheme in order to facilitate Polish citizens to participate in development assistance and be closer to the real problems that people have in other parts of the world. There is also a second dimension of the program, which is secondary, but equally important when you think about the long-scale impact of volunteering at home, and its awareness raising and global education. I mean, it's raising awareness in Poland about the key issues, key development issues in the world. Poland decided to encourage volunteering and support volunteering because of the human dimension of development assistance. And we believe that it won't be possible to assist the so-called developing world in solving the problems if we don't invest in people here in Poland and abroad. I won't tell you because I don't think it's much relevant and interesting, and there is probably more interesting questions about how the program is set up. But what we do actually is we don't employ the volunteers as the ministry, as the Japanese do, for example. I won't tell you that the Japanese example is a bad one. Our approach is different. Our volunteers are not hired by the MFA. They are the volunteers recruited by local NGOs and by Polish NGOs. And what we pay attention to when we decide to grant volunteer projects some of money is the skills that they present, and also their volunteering experience in Poland. They are supposed to go abroad for at least 3 months. We prefer that their work abroad is longer. And we gather them for a couple of days to see how they work in group, how engaged and motivated they are. And thanks to, I think, quite a good recruitment done by Polish NGOs, we select mostly people who are much devoted and who are able to deliver skills and to share open attitudes towards the community for which they work. Here you can see another volunteer who organized sports activities on Palestinian territories on the West Bank. The ultimate goal of volunteering is why we don't send equipment, but we prefer to send people with some equipment from time to time, is the personality of volunteers and their ability to be leaders. Our volunteers don't go in groups. They mostly go individually to a project for a couple of months. And they are leaders who are followed. They very often become catalysts for change. This means that the community for which they work and with which they work see them as a factor. They become a factor of change. They make people realize how able they are, and they become authorities and experts who are followed. There are communities who in rural areas in Africa or in Latin America who haven't been organizing anything for themselves until a volunteer came. And afterwards, after the volunteer left, they set up local communities and they set up their representations and they started to talk to the local authorities as an organized group. We are very concerned about the volunteers' relationship with the local communities. They are supposed to become their members. So they live with the local people as much as possible. They are a member of the local organization, we call it partner organization, in which they work. And they are also encouraged to learn local languages to be able to communicate. I also mentioned about the second important dimension of our program, which was awareness raising and global education. After the volunteer finished his or her mission, he or she is encouraged to undertake the so-called global education initiative here in Poland. And this enables the volunteers to share their experience gained on the project. They talk about what they did in presenting films, making exhibitions, some of them even produce teaching materials for students. And in this way, they raise awareness of global development challenges among their peers. We also encourage them to write about what they do, and many of them have their blogs. Here you can see the lady Monica, who works in Tanzania. Her blog is Second. She's a nurse who assists pregnant women. And she also has some HIV prevention and treatment programs. And her blog is really, I would say, it's really interesting and touching. During the training, we even try to give them hints by employing journalists to let them know how to do it so that their work is interesting to others. I won't go in much detail. I hope I gave a few highlights on what is important to us when we decide to engage volunteers in development assistance. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Agata.